Good morning everybody, good morning, it's JPR and welcome back to another video. Legendary Pokemon have incredible powers that quite literally shaped the entirety of the Pokemon world. So, why do half of them have pressure as an ability? That's kinda lame if you ask me, so today I'm going over several legendary Pokemon to give them new abilities that match their designs, complement their lore, and make them more competitively viable. Even though most legendaries are broken already, we're just gonna make the world burn even more. Now, I won't be covering every legendary in existence because some, like Groudon and Kyogre, already have perfect abilities that match all the criteria I just mentioned. So if I don't talk about your favorite legendary, just assume that their abilities are perfect as is. So starting off with the original legendary trio, the legendary birds, I think Articuno is pretty easy. Multiple dex entries for Articuno describe its ability to summon snowstorms with the flap of its wings. So why not give it Snow Warning? This would make Articuno a lot better, especially with the recent buff to Snow where Ice types have their defense raised by 50%. Which would certainly be appreciated, seeing as how this thing is more fragile than a Pikachu with no plot armor. And not to mention, having weather setting abilities in general is a huge plus. For Zapdos, I considered giving it wind power, but that would just make it way too similar to Kilowattrel in my opinion. And Electric Surge is an ability that maybe goes a little too far. There's a reason people treat the word Tapu like a disease. So instead, I'm going to give it Lightning Rod, which falls in line with its Ruby and Sapphire dex entry, where it says, this Pokemon gains power if it is stricken by lightning bolts. This was actually Zapdos' Gen 5 hidden ability, but for some reason it was never released and ended up getting changed to static in Gen 6. Now, Lightning Rod may not be the best ability in the world, or the most unique, but it's definitely handy as it gives Zapdos a well-deserved immunity to electricity and plays to its strengths as a special sweeper. As for Galarian Zapdos, although Defiant is great, we could do better. I'm genuinely surprised there isn't already an Iron Fist or Sharpness equivalent for kicking moves, but hey, why not? We'll make one here. Lethal Legs. Name is currently being workshopped, it's in beta. Increases the power of kicking moves by 20%. I would go higher than that, but Thunderous Kick is already pretty strong as is, and to help it out, I'll give it access to Blaze Kick, and I'll make Stomping Tantrum count as a kicking move just to give it a little extra versatility. As for Moltres, it already kinda has the perfect hidden ability in Flame Body. Yeah, an astute observation if I do say so myself. But let's get a little more creative. There's something about Moltres sharing the same ability with Slugma that seems a little wrong. So I'm gonna give Moltres a slightly better Fire-type equivalent of Water Absorb. Volcanic Healing. This also references its Pokedex entry from Ruby and Sapphire, which states it is said to dip its body in the molten magma of a volcano to burn and heal itself. This ability would not only restore Moltres' HP when hit by a Fire-type attack, but would also heal any status conditions, which it's probably gonna need since Stealth Rock damage single-handedly keeps this guy out of top tier. As for Mewtwo, well, I don't think it needs any help when it comes to the competitive side of things, and to be honest, pressure fits for this guy. There should be pressure whenever you're in its presence. So, I'm actually okay with not changing it. While 2 of the 3 legendary beasts already have hidden abilities that I'm completely okay with, I think it would be cool to give Suicune an ability that matches its many Pokedex entries describing its ability to purify polluted waters. Especially given the iconic scene in the 4th movie where it cleans the lake. I mean, it doesn't actually save Celebi, but it was still cool. But yeah, I'd give Suicune an upgraded version of the ability Hydration called Purifying Winds, where whenever it's raining, Suicune protects its entire team from status conditions. Definitely more suited for VGC than singles, but hey, it's something. Ho-Oh gets to keep its hidden ability Regenerator, as it probably fits best with its Phoenix-like lore without overstepping into broken territory. With Lugia, however, I'm actually going to ignore its already really good hidden ability Multiscale and give it another really good ability, the now-defunct Delta Stream, exclusive to Mega Rayquaza. This, of course, references multiple Pokedex entries stating that the flap of Lugia's wings causes a 40-day storm. Though, we'll rename the ability to something a little more fitting. Maybe Beast Stream, referencing its Beast of the Sea moniker. Well, that actually sounds like Mr. Beast is about to go live, so maybe we could workshop that one a little bit too. Regirock is an easy one, as many dex entries describe how it attaches rocks to heal itself, so a rock absorb ability actually sounds fitting enough. Although, in addition to just restoring HP, to make it a little more viable, we'll say that Regirock can also use it to absorb stealth rocks off the battlefield. Oh, would you look at that, he's OU already. For Regice, we'll give it an upgraded version of the ability Heat Proof. This will not only erase its weakness to Fire-type moves, since the dex explicitly states its body can't be melted by flames, so that was a lie. And similar to Regirock, it will have its HP restored when hit by an Ice-type attack. Fortunately for Registeel, it already has a hidden ability that fits its Pokedex entries. Unfortunately, that ability is Light Metal, which is pretty cheeks. And since the dex doesn't really clue us into anything else Registeel can do, why not give it Berserker's ability, Steely Spirit, which increases it and its allies' Steel-type move power by 50%. Latios and Latias, realistically speaking, are perfectly fine with Levitate. But this isn't about being fine as you are, this is about making Pokemon broken! I mean, biblically accurate. I always liked how Latios and Latias could turn themselves invisible, which is not only described in the Pokedex, but is also showcased multiple times in the movies and anime series. So I thought of a new ability, Light Refraction, which would tie into their pretty underwhelming signature moves, Mist Ball and Luster Purge. The ability basically is that whenever these two use their signature moves for the first time in battle, they gain 1 turn of invisibility and they can't be hit. So I guess sorta like Mimikyu's Disguise, but requires a move to activate it. I know this one sounds especially good, but I guess the trade-off of being forced to use Luster Purge or Mist Ball would make it somewhat bearable. For Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf, I would guess the best canon ability would be Cursed Body, since Sinnoh's lore says that coming into contact with them takes away your emotions, memories, or willpower. But realistically, that's probably way worse than Levitate, and hey, they do levitate, so maybe we just keep that. Alright, now here are the big ones I've been wanting to talk about, Dialga and Palkia, because their normal abilities are trash. They both have pressure and telepathy. Fitting? Sure. But good? Absolutely not. So here's what I propose. For Palkia, Space Control, an ability that makes all moves into multi-target attacks in doubles. But like regular multi-target attacks, they will also have their power cut in half. But what about for singles? Well, it'll have the bonus effect that none of Palkia's moves miss their mark. So kinda like a one-sided version of No Guard. I don't think Palkia learns any one-hit KO moves, so hopefully this one wouldn't be too problematic. For Dialga, Time Control. This ability makes all time-based attacks hit in 1 turn, and even skips the time needed to recharge. But the trade-off is that the move's power is lowered by 20%. Using a stab Roar of Time with no drawback sounds like a horrible idea, so nerfing it from 150 power to 120 sounds like the least we can do. We'll also let Dialga learn Solar Beam and Future Sight, which I'm honestly surprised it doesn't already learn, so it'll have access to some more multi-turn attacks. For Giratina, it's kinda hard to think of a new ability that has to do with the Distortion world without completely destroying the fragile reality of Pokemon battling, so I think Lunala should share its signature ability with it, Shadow Shield, which essentially is just like multi-scale where you take less damage at full health. If you guys have a more creative one, let me know in the comments. Could these abilities make these guys broken? Absolutely. But the creation trio and being broken goes together like you and subscribing to the channel. So I don't really see the problem here. Unless you're not subscribed, in which case,
what's wrong with you?
for Cresselia, we'll give it an ability that perfectly contradicts Darkrai, Lunar Veil, which is just gonna be a reskin of Sweet Veil, which prevents the Pokemon and its allies from falling asleep. Maybe as a bonus effect you could slightly reduce damage done by Dark-type moves as well. Regigigas, Slow Start, but it only lasts for 2 turns instead of 5. Hey, it's still canonical and it doesn't suck as bad as it does right now. But I'm not done there, because once the 2 turns are over, Regigigas gets huge power! Okay, no, I'm not that crazy. But I'll give it a reskin of Infiltrator called Mad Strength or something like that. So that way your opponent doesn't get away with setting up substitutes or screens in the first couple turns. While I think most of Gen 5's legendary Pokemon don't need their abilities changed, I would say that Zekrom and Reshiram could use something a little bit cooler than reskins of Mold Breaker. For Zekrom, I'm thinking of leaning into the Tail Generator concept and giving it a combination of Motor Drive and Lightning Rod. But instead of electric moves raising its special attack and speed, this will raise its physical attack and speed. I'll call this ability Electric Turbine. For Reshiram, it'll be the same concept but for fire moves, and this will raise its special attack instead. And the name will just be a rebrand of Turbo Blaze, instead being called Turbo Engine. Black Kyurem and White Kyurem will also be able to obtain these abilities through fusion, but base Kyurem will have a new ability called Absolute Zero, which chills the battlefield and turns all water-type attacks into ice-type attacks, potentially opening up the possibility for teammates with powerful water moves to take out threats they normally couldn't. Imagine Emboar with Scald, except it's basically an Ice Beam now, but still has a 30% chance to burn. I can feel reality collapsing with this one. In Kalos, I think all 3 legendaries have fine abilities as is. Although, giving Yveltal King Gambit's new ability would absorb strength from fallen allies does sound a little tempting. I would want to change Zygarde's Aura Break ability since it's kinda useless, but let's be real. At this point, Power Construct is basically the primary ability now. And there's not anything wrong with that, it's about as perfect as a Zygarde ability could get. Most of the Alolan legendaries also have perfectly fine abilities, as this is where more generic stuff like Pressure and Levitate started getting replaced with proper signature abilities. But there is one I'd like to change, Necrozma's Prism Armor. It's a fine ability, but I think we could do better. In this case, I'll be changing it to Light Devour. Basically, if any Pokemon in the field attempts to use a move that involves light, so Solar Beam, Moonlight, Sunny Day, Synthesis, Morning Sun, etc., then Necrozma will steal the move, preventing it from being used, and it will restore its own HP. This will also give Necrozma slight recovery for every turn that Harsh Sunlight is active. For Gen 8, there is only one Pokemon whose ability I'd change, Eternatus, going from Pressure to Max Energy. This ability is similar to how his signature move Dynamax Cannon works, where Dynamax Pokemon take double damage. But, slight problem, Dynamax doesn't exist anymore, so how would this work? Basically, I'd make it so that Eternatus does slightly more damage to bigger Pokemon. If a Pokemon is 5 meters tall, Eternatus' moves do 5% more damage. If they're 10 meters tall, they do 10% more damage. If they're 20 meters tall, well, nothing else is that tall except Eternatus itself, so you don't have to worry about that. Sure, this ability would mostly only affect legendary Pokemon, but that's the crowd that Eternatus fights against the most often in the competitive landscape, so it works out pretty well. And I wanted to change Calyrex's ability from Unnerve to Harvest, because logically it makes more sense, but I realized that would also carry over to his Steed forms as well, and they're broken enough as is, so let's kindly not do that. And in Gen 9, every legendary Pokemon so far already has a signature ability. And as much as I'd love to give Tingaloo Rain Dish for the memes, I think these guys are fine as is. Maybe the DLC will give us something to work with before long though. And with that, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed, and shout out to my channel members for the continued support. I'll see you guys next time.